All right, hello everyone, and welcome to a very unusual Friday video. Yep, video for Friday. This was originally going to be Saturday's video, but in light of the press conference that took place with Port Huron Prowlers and all the information that was in there, I wanted to do a special video on that because it's got a lot of impact, not just for Port Huron, but for the entire league. So that is going to be tomorrow's topic. All right, for today, we're covering this, and I know this isn't necessarily about the FPHL, although in a small way it is. This is the level of hockey right below the FPHL. Of course, the FPHL is the lowest level of pro hockey in North America. And underneath that, we have semi-pro Senior A. Now, there are some other Senior A leagues out in like the western part of the United States, but they really don't have any impact with the Fed. I wanted to focus on these three because it's quite the competition for these three leagues to kind of get a foothold, try and establish themselves as the premier Senior A league. Now, we have three that we're going to focus on, and they do have some impact on the Fed. There have been players from all three leagues that have come up, gotten signed by an FPHL team. For some, it just lasts a few games. For some, it lasts longer. Case in point, Quinn O'Reilly just got signed by the Topeka Scarecrows, and he started the year off last year in the APHL with the Summit City Distillers, and ended up playing more than half of a season. And it looks like he's found his place in the Fed. All right, just using him as an example. So what I want to do is I want to introduce you to the three leagues again that impact the FPHL. First is the oldest of the three, the Michigan Independent Hockey League. I'm sure you have heard that referred to. For those of you who are familiar with Jack Hudick, he does On the Spot Sports, great series. But he played, he was the practice goalie for Watertown for 1 year, and then last year he got signed by the Dashers late in the year. He also dressed for Mississippi. So, he's been playing in the MIHL for, I guess, 3 seasons now. Anyway, some good players that have come to the FPHL from the MIHL. So this is the oldest of the leagues, 6 years. They were founded in 2020, and they've been anywhere in between 4 to 6 teams in the past. This year they will be 8 teams. They have expanded into different parts of the state of Michigan. It's all in the state of Michigan. So this is a list of the teams: the Alpena 45ers, Sheboygan Wendigo, the Detroit Warhawks, Kalkaska Kings. That's a new team. So is Sheboygan. The Michigan Shadow. Originally, they were going to be in Flint, but when everything kind of went down with the Rockers, they were able to move into Big Boy Arena in Fraser, Michigan. You have the Muskegon Voyagers, probably the most successful team in the league. St. Ignatius Saints, they're a new team, and Waterford Sharks, who have won a championship. So you have those 8 teams. Now, the main characteristics, if you will, of the MIHL is, okay, yes, they are the longest tenured. They probably have the best structure as far as teams and their front offices working with arenas and communities. So they've kind of developed the blueprint, if you will, for Senior A semi-pro hockey. Now, even though there have been a number of players that have gone from the MIHL to the Fed, either for a few games or for an extended time, there's no formal relationship. I did ask Scott Brand, who, yes, he's the GM, the business GM of the PD Ice Cats, but he's also the commissioner of the MIHL. I said, could we see any affiliations? And he said, well, it's possible, but we're not going to pay an affiliation fee. What people don't realize is that when you have any kind of affiliation, whether it's, just using an example, the Calgary Flames and the Calgary Wranglers, okay, there's an affiliation there, but there is a financial agreement that is reached. And that goes through all levels of hockey, even into the Fed / MIHL. Affiliations can be formed, but there are fees involved. Scott Brand said, we really don't want to go about that route. So I think he's pretty much satisfied with, any Fed team could look at any team in the MIHL and said, hey, we really like so-and-so playing for Kalkaska, and we need a guy this weekend. Hey, can you lend us a player for a few days? So right now that is the agreement. Now switch over to the APHL, the American Premier Hockey League. Started off as the Union Hockey League, and it's gone through a lot of changes. Now, so is the MIHL. Any new or newer league goes through a lot of changes. We've seen a lot of changes happen in the FPHL. A lot of changes happen just within the first 5 years of the Fed. So that's not really surprising or alarming or news. There's going to be a lot of changes. Now, the APHL, the American Premier Hockey League, they're entering their 3rd season. And I put an asterisk there. Right now, they have 11 teams. I have heard rumblings that they want to start the year with an even 12. So we'll see if that happens. So the window is still there for expansion. Now, because this is semi-pro, this isn't professional, you can get a team started a little bit later in the summer than you could in the FPHL. To try and start a team right now in the FPHL would be suicide financially. But in semi-pro, you can do that. You can make things work. These teams aren't playing in big arenas. The biggest arena for the FPHL is the Michigan Shadow, playing in Big Boy Arena, which we're familiar with, a 3,200 seat arena. Most of the arenas are 900, 1,000, 1,200. So the smaller arenas, and with the way that semi-pro does business, it works. All right, so getting back to the APHL. All right, they have 11 teams right now, 3 divisions. They have an Eastern, Eastern, Northern, and Southern. Okay, they're a little bit more concentrated in the Midwest right now, because it seems like that's where there are more markets available. Now they have, in the East, they have the Buffalo Tempest, defending champions of the league. You have the Iron City Forge, plays near Pittsburgh. They went through last year, ended the season prematurely. There was an ownership change. There was a lot of financial problems there. Ownership change, new guy at the helm, and he's got things lined up ready to go for Iron City. Now, there's a little purple asterisk there. I'll tell you about that in a minute. We have brand new, just a couple weeks ago, they were announced, the Jamestown Rail Raiders. That is in New York. Also in New York is the Thousand Island Raiders. Not too far away from Watertown. Just a stone's throw away from Watertown in Clayton, New York. So you have these two teams, very new, just announced in the last couple weeks. In the southern, the southern division, we have the Summit City Distillers. If you followed or are familiar with Senior A, you know that one Mr. Travis Ridgen briefly played for the Distillers, as did Taylor Schwann, the goaltender who had an excellent exhibition game for the Danbury Hat-Tricks. And I don't think she's going to be playing semi-pro. I think she's going all out trying to get a pro contract. But anyway, two famous names from Summit City. The Toledo Mobsters, Toledo Mobsters, and then the Worcester Bulls. They're a brand new team. Again, notice the purple asterisk, here. In the north, and again, mainly in Michigan, so we're going to go to a second board in a second, we have the Motor City Muskies, not playing in the same arena as the Michigan Shadow, but close by. New team. You also have the Western Michigan Warhounds, playing in a town called Gaylord, Michigan, that once housed an MIHL club. You have the Ridgetown Royals, the newest team, just announced last week. They're playing in Chatham, Ontario, which is not too far away from Windsor, just over into Ontario from Michigan. And then you also have the Western Michigan Sentinels. Okay, so they started off again as the UHL, the Union Hockey League. There's a lot more cash flow going on in the APHL right now. A lot of investors that are jumping on board with the APHL, which is why they expanded from 7 to 11 teams this year, and again, possibly expanding to 12. Then the other point, now they have a direct relationship with the Fed in many cases. Affiliations have been agreed upon. We have, the Western Michigan Sentinels are an affiliate of the PD Ice Cats. Northern Michigan, the Warhounds, are the official affiliate for the Indiana Sentinels. Summit City, the Distillers, are affiliated with Monroe, with the Moccasins. The Worcester Bulls are affiliated with the Carolina Thunderbirds. And the Iron City Forge are affiliated with Blue Ridge Bobcats. Now, this basically means that Blue Ridge, all right, they need a player for a week or two. Somebody's out injured. They go looking at Iron Forge first because that is where they have an affiliation with. They look at that roster and say, hey, we need a guy. There's already a formal relationship set up. There is the possibility that there may be one or two more affiliations developed. So right now, the APHL seems to have a bit of an inside track as far as preparing players for the professional ranks. All right, the last league we have, and I'm not going to spend much time on them because, well, we'll get into it. The Power Play Senior Hockey League. Now, this Power Play Senior Hockey League is a segment of the greater entity Power Play Hockey League, a group of amateur teams all over the place, primarily though in the Northeast, in New England. The Power Play Senior Hockey League is all in New England, and three of the four teams that played this last year in the SHL were originally members of the APHL and kind of offshot to form their own league. All right, you have the Boston Gold Kings. They play just outside of downtown Boston. The Holyoke Papermen, they're out in the western part of Massachusetts. You have the Norfolk Mallards going down towards Cape Cod, and then the Salem Sasquatch, which is kind of north and east of Boston. Now, I'll say this about the PPSHL. Yes, they kind of offshot. They wanted to have their own vision, their own plan. I don't know how much organization is really there, though. There's been a lot of movement, teams bouncing from arena to arena. There's very strange plan. They want to have a Northeastern division. They want to have a Middle Atlantic division. They want to have a Midwest division. They announced that they're welcoming in the Kenosha Knights, Wisconsin. Not sure how that's going to work out. Senior A, you don't have buses. You have players getting into their vehicles and carpooling to wherever. So you don't want a whole lot of travel. You don't want a lot of miles between cities. So I don't think there's much practicality going on here. I don't have much faith that the PPSHL is going to be successful long term. All right, so just touching on that. All right, let's go to the other board, because the last thing I want to talk about is this is very competitive. This is a very crude outline of the state of Michigan. We talk about the MIHL, Michigan Independent Hockey League, being completely contained within the state. They have 7 teams in the Lower Peninsula, 1 just over the Mackinac Bridge in St. Ignace there in the Upper Peninsula. All right, very crowded field, because we have 4 teams in purple. That's the Northern Division for the MIHL: St. Ignace, Sheboygan, Kalkaska, and Alpena. All right. Now, in the south, you have the Muskegon Voyagers. You have 3 teams right there. 3 teams in the Metro Detroit area. You have the Waterford Sharks, just outside city limits. You have the Detroit Waterhawks that play in the suburb of Troy. And then you have the Michigan Shadow that we're familiar with playing in Fraser. Then you also have 3 teams from the APHL vying for a foothold here. You have the Northern Michigan Warhawks playing in Gaylord. You have just below Muskegon, in a town called Holland, you have the Western Michigan Sentinels, and then just south of downtown Detroit in Lincoln Park, there is the Motor City Muskies. So, it's a very crowded field. I didn't mention Muskies before. They're in the Northern Division of the APHL. I don't know why I didn't mention them. But anyway, they're not playing in Fraser. They are Lincoln Park. Small arena. It's seats, I think it said 700. So, but you see that it's a very competitive territory. Now, there are other arenas that were considered, like in Flint, some up here in the northern tier of the Lower Peninsula. So very, very competitive. But all these, again, kind of battling for a foothold to become the premier senior league. Now, just like professional single A, you've got the FPHL and the SPHL. All right, you can have multiple senior A leagues, but again, I don't see much of a future for the Power Play Senior Hockey League. I think it's going to end up being the APHL and Michigan, who have said in the past that they would be willing to look beyond the state borders. Maybe if something opens up in Indiana or Illinois or Ohio, they'd be willing to possibly look at that. But for right now, there you go. You got 11 teams in Michigan on the senior A level. So very interesting indeed. So I just wanted to give you guys an introduction. And again, keep a watch on the transaction wires, because every now and then you may see your favorite team sign somebody, even if it's just for a week or two, that comes out of one of these other senior A leagues. While we don't have an official feeder system right now, it sounds like the APHL would like to see that happen. So we'll see how things develop. All right, I hope you found this informative, and I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Make sure to watch tomorrow's video. This is the big video of the weekend. Again, a new day in Port Huron and the Fed. So tune in for that. Make sure you're following me on Facebook for all the latest and up-to-date news. And also follow me on the Flash Audio Network as well. All right, thanks guys for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow.